After more than a month of silence, smoke, and what looks like an orchestrated cover-up around the death of Ashley Jana, the moment has finally arrived where somebody on this platform has to sit down and walk you through the lies in a way that nobody else on YouTube has even attempted. Because right now, there is a coordinated narrative spinning across the internet claiming that 10 different people were taken into custody in Zanzibar in connection to what happened to Ashley, and I am here to tell you straight to your face, that report is fabricated, that headline is invented, and the YouTubers parading it around like a trophy are not journalists. They are predators feeding off of a dead woman. And before this video is over, you will not only understand exactly how they pulled it off, you will know each name, each pattern, each manipulation tactic, and every single hole in their story. And before we go any deeper into how this thing has been twisted, please make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell, and share this video everywhere you can, because seriously, I am going to need your help on this one. The algorithm does not want a video like this to spread. The people who profit off of these lies do not want this conversation to reach you, and the only way real coverage of Ashley Jana's case continues to climb is if you, the viewer sitting on the other side of that screen, decide to amplify the truth louder than the noise. This is the most important case in independent media right now, no matter which side of the conversation you found yourself on. The consequences of how this case is being shaped publicly are going to ripple through every true crime channel and every influencer platform from this point forward. I mean, the manipulation is becoming so brazen that one creator built an entire visual production around a single anonymous voice on a phone call, and they expect us to swallow it. So let me start by laying out the actual facts and pointing out something that should chill every single person watching, with a YouTuber named Sheba essentially presenting the world a fully produced exclusive interview during her broadcast, featuring how many invented timestamps, how many unverified room numbers, and how many imaginary arrests that ended up framed as breaking developments. And then with Sheba not just feeding us this one interview but stacking her entire feed with content rooted in the very same anonymous source. This has never been pulled off by any independent media operator covering a real death case like this ever, in terms of producing this much speculative content under the banner of investigative journalism without a single shred of documentation to back it up. And with that, what you have to recognize, even if you are the biggest Sheba supporter out there, and you are the most loyal queen, mod, or whatever they call themselves in her comment section, is that, well, after weeks of silence from mainstream outlets, which is by far the longest blackout we have seen around a black woman's suspicious death in recent memory, where local press refused to publish even basic confirmation of evidence, to suddenly receive these crisp narrative arcs, exclusive timelines, and themed live shows complete with sound effects and emotional pauses. You got fireworks with the storytelling. Listen, it is fine. We can all admit this, and I will be the first one to say it. Everybody can take after my approach. But say it with me. Thank you, Sheba, for pretending that you are running an investigation, because seriously, to deliver this many fabricated arrests across this many live streams in one news cycle and put out all this drama which was very emotionally packaged. I will give Sheba's team that much. They made these fake leads look way more compelling and sound way more authoritative in the broadcast than they ever could have looked in a courtroom filing or a sworn affidavit. And that's important just with me saying that last point. That's it. That's the entire scam. The dramatic music, the saved screenshots, the calls from anonymous queens, and just everything. It's all here to send a message, which has nothing to do with anything in and around the actual evidence of Ashley's death. And I hate to be the one to break this truth to you good people, but it's all merely here to be dressing to the desperate effort that these creators are making to look relevant when there is still no real central evidence, no verifiable witness, and no message uniting people to why they should trust a single thing being said on those broadcasts. Other than that, they just dropped a lot of episodes. I mean, even if you think about how hyped Sheba's exclusive interview was framed in her thumbnail and how huge of a moment they manufactured to immediately follow it up with 2 more live streams from the same person who came out of absolutely nowhere with no verifiable identity, well, it makes for a juicy buzz headline and lazy social media captions for late-night admins who hate that they are working at 3 in the morning where they could repost their tired thumbnails like this. All it is doing is diluting the real story, drowning out the family's actual voice, and burying what your independent reporting could have accomplished. And just looking at what really matters, especially for Ashley's mother, and especially for a case where you have an island, a hotel staff, a fiancé with no charges, a missing phone, an engagement ring nobody can produce, and a body that traveled through 2 hospitals before anyone gave the public a coherent timeline. Well, in terms of trying to actually solve what happened to that woman, if everybody has 43 different versions of the same night for what they think they know about Ashley, you think you are finally going to get justice still. But you know what? Let me slow down because the more you think about it, a lot of this makes sense. And just do not be fooled yet, because while a lot of people thought that Sheba had stumbled into actual sources, every single name dropped in those broadcasts traces back to the exact same ecosystem of creators, the same circle of accounts, and the same chain of influences who have been feeding each other the same recycled gossip the whole time. And while Sheba dresses this up as exclusive intel here and creates a bigger smokescreen than we have ever seen, as she has now made this entire fairy tale fully public, which we will get into later here, that is not why she released 10 back-to-back episodes. It was not to deliver evidence or anything like that, but primarily it was for one simple reason: to flood the platform. Flood the recommendations, and flood the search bar with so much content and so much manufactured drama that you cannot escape it. And even if the information is hollow, with the sheer mass of material that is out there, it is going to look like a massive investigation regardless. With a comment section in this era where every YouTuber from Trent to Fumi to Salone to Queen Somalia and a dozen other accounts you have probably never even searched for are all pushing the exact same beats. It's a hype metric. If people have curiosity in your headline, you're most likely going to get those clicks. Sheba is probably going to pull every single one of these episodes into the algorithm, which both seems to be the standard and the playbook in this corner of YouTube. And even with that pattern and that number 10 that they keep repeating, that would be a record for the most fabricated arrests in a single news cycle, surpassing none other than what they did during the Shanquella Robinson case, which is sitting at a comparable number in a single week from their streaming slot filler content, which did the exact same thing that we are seeing here. And again, no matter if there is not a single shred of proof, nobody connects with this thing in court, and even if the numbers fall apart, the distraction and size of how much content we got is going to make it look like it succeeded to the general public, who is already clapping their hands over this because the headlines and the programming is working. Anytime you're going to see something like 10 people detained in Zanzibar, there's a lot of trigger words in there that are going to make it sound inherently breaking. And if you're not paying attention, you might just be fooled and end up sharing one of these clips. And I have to say, considering the fact that this creator clearly has no real connection to anybody inside that investigation, this is actually pretty calculated as a manipulator. If we look at this from another level, when you think about how with 10 supposed arrests dropping in a live stream at midnight and people planning to follow every update, not just in one night, but because there's so much over the course of days. And if they did get through it, they had to sit down for hours and hours to now be able to talk about all of it. Well, with these very different versions of the same night that clearly all different types of viewers are going to absorb because of how much contradictory information is out there, it has decentralized the conversation that could be had around Ashley's death in a way that we have never seen on this platform. And well, of course, that is going to fragment everything that's going on with it, good and bad. Which, while that may go against you in terms of getting real accountability, in terms of trying to just make this look like as big of a moment as possible without any of the scrutiny that real journalism would have invited, this is a solid tactic to stat pad your way to looking a lot more credible and performing better. And it really is not a surprise, because if we look at Sheba and this strategy, this seems to be running back to the same playbook in a lot of ways that we saw in the Shanquella Robinson case from a few years ago, just in terms of the fact that with a massive avalanche of speculative content that covered two distinct angles, with the family side and the suspect side, they were able to just wash out any noise and any scrutiny that somebody could have had with their reporting and with what they were doing by just flooding the timeline with way too much speculation. That's what happened back then. And from walking out of that storm and really looking better in the process because of how big their numbers were, because of how long the live streams ran, these creators were able to get a pass from that. And obviously, while the situation is different here, Sheba is still banking on pulling the same thing off. But listen, if you are just going to make a scaled-up Shanquella playbook, and that's really what this is in terms of what it's representing, do not give us a list of fabricated arrests that is going to make something as bloated as the early Shanquella coverage now look as careful and well-researched as something like a 60 Minutes investigation. Because seriously, with 10 phantom suspects across 3 live streams in one night, I don't think we need 10 phantom suspects in pretty much all one unified narrative release from literally any single creator in this space, including some of the ones that I think are the most well-intentioned. It's just an excessive amount, which is obviously going to oversaturate things and get in the way of accuracy. And just when you think about that, this is the conversation we are having. In a way, it is showing that Sheba does not even respect her own viewers enough to verify a single line, and does not want people to absorb this story with the care and gravity that any real death case always should be handled with. Or as most other reporters would say, they ended up making them with. Which, considering who this creator is, I just made the whole connection. Maybe that was way more intentional than we thought, because while I have not listened to every single one of these follow-up interviews, because again, I was not staying up till 2 or 3 in the morning just listening to the same anonymous Queen feed, talking points back to a microphone. Why would I ever do that? With the Somali Queen interview and this standard, and the world beginning to hear it before being distracted with the promise of all of these other exclusives, which is showing you this hustle and tactic in real time working on mass audiences, which it has in terms of the distraction portion of it. Well, in the original Sheba livestream where she played almost the entire chain of anonymous claims and showed off everything that this voice has supposedly given her, the world began to see it. And as we were unpacking these claims and hearing the recording more and more, it only became more clear on how broken all of it truly was. But well, the warnings were true. This case really was being hijacked all along. And there are no ways around that anymore. Whether you love these creators or you hate them, you cannot say otherwise. Because really for the biggest Sheba supporters now, do they realize that if they believe this interview, and if it is their new favorite breakdown, half of the so-called timestamps they are repeating verbatim are recycled details from a stranger that nobody has ever seen on camera. And speaking of that anonymous voice, there is so much in this exclusive that is about Joe and what he supposedly did. This truly is the gossip episode dressed up as the smoking gun, just when you look at all of the Joe smoke alone. And this is undisputed for anybody who's going to try to ignore this plain-out fact. Look at how she named her source. The name is literally Somali Queen, which is the same naming convention used by half a dozen other unverified callers stretching across the last 3 years of true crime YouTube. I mean, the voice on the other end of the phone uses a username pulled straight from a shared playbook, and is trying to act like it is a sacred insider channel. Meanwhile, to be honest, this segment has the best chance to be the viral clip of the broadcast, which is just so fitting because its premise leans on an anonymity bar altogether. And with this episode, while so many bandwagon viewers are flocking towards it with their toxic certainty sentiments, which they love to pull out in times like this because they stand on absolutely nothing and they are opportunists, like a Trent and a Fumi. Well, both prove they more than are. And really, that's a whole other pathetic thing. I mean, look at the way these two are now best friends. But the way Sheba can't reconcile with somebody who actually questions her, well, listen. While I am jumping ahead on why somebody who tried to act like the most fearless truth teller in the room on this broadcast, well, only is selective with the people they choose to amplify. Because despite Trent creating the very framing that literally caused the domino effect that put Sheba in the position to get this anonymous tipster in the first place, she can be cool with Trent. They can swap content. But with whatever happened with any creator who calls out the inconsistencies, they will never engage. And just speaking of the idea of standing on nothing with Sheba continuing her source obsession by making her own version of the breaking exclusive with the episode titled 10 People Detained in Zanzibar. This is the segment we need to talk about. I will say it is definitely the most engineered headline Sheba has even possibly published all year, perhaps because it is using that same shock and outrage cadence that the Shanquella coverage used for a tag like 10 arrests confirmed. And it still does sound urgent on the surface here. And in terms of Sheba's delivery, while she sells a setup in the first half that starts off cautious and feels relatively measured, the second half of this segment has her screaming alongside her source and calling out everyone in the kitchen as she just goes wild, making vague accusations, naming the butler, and trying to say, this is how you build a real timeline. And this is how you reveal what local authorities have been hiding all along. Meanwhile, Sheba, I do not know if you know this, but no Zanzibar paper, no Tanzanian outlet, and no embassy bulletin has ever confirmed a single arrest. It's just stuff like this that makes this feel more cynical and exploitative than anything. Because while real journalists are filing FOIA requests and chasing official statements, Sheba has a phone call and she is the one who's trying to act like she is in the lead, which just stop it. I mean, you're trying to compete with actual evidence-based reporting that the family deserves, honestly, not even just in this case, but throughout every black woman who has died abroad in the last 10 years overall, and you got your BT knockoff version of journalism, and you think it's going to do anything. I mean, it just really does feel like an absolute tragedy watching this creator just descend and try worse and worse ways to manufacture any sort of relevance and to try and reach any little bit more views. And I wish I could say it stops there because as this case goes on, and keep in mind I'm not even covering half of the contradictions and half of the lines that we see Sheba just blurt out all over this thing. Well, with Sheba building entire segments and arcs questioning the butler's behavior as she references a fake stat about hotel staff secretly being arrested off the record, which was never proven to be true and was actually proven quite the opposite by anyone willing to type the name of that resort into a search engine. But Sheba must be writing her hooks from gossip group chats and from her little anonymous tipster communities. And maybe they let her onto this and this is how she got it. And getting even worse from there with this devolving all into the live broadcast ending with Sheba pointing at floor plans of a hotel where she tears the layout apart by the end. And we see images that allude to a closet hanging directly on one of the screens, which is implying that Sheba thinks that the official ruling was staged and that everything Zanzibar police are doing is fraudulent and that everything around the case and all the other parties who are involved, well, their accounts are fraudulent. When you watch the visuals with this storytelling, you'll see that Sheba literally did create her own cinematic universe to try and cope with the fact that she has no actual access to the family or the investigation and why she is doing everything that she's doing now. But at the same time, it's like she didn't want the world to fully hear her source's full claims. Because when you make a segment like this and you start spazzing out on the entire hotel staff and the local police and you make the message and make it a big deal in your rollout, but then have all this other noise make people talk about all of the other live streams you put out as well and all of the merch surrounding it, it seems like Sheba created the accusations on this broadcast, especially aimed at someone like Joe McCann, not to actually reach Ashley's family or push the case forward and show them that real questions are being asked. And instead it's to prove to her viewers and other creators and grifters even that she is some sort of insider and that she's not afraid to drop any name because they don't seem grounded enough to either move the needle in the actual investigation or even provoke law enforcement to confirm anything for the most part. But they are all over this broadcast. We are still discovering more in real time as we speak as Sheba is responding and calling out so much of what the supposed butler did. And with timeline bars too here, which sound like when your parents say, "I told you so," or they try to explain to you something when you were younger. And even if you knew it was wrong back then since you were younger, they would just give you a weak response that you just had to go along with. Well, that is how it feels when Sheba tries to save and justify her phantom timeline by saying, "I am not making it up, my source is a doctor." I mean, kudos to you, Sheba. Kudos to you. You really sound like a credible and fully sourced investigator. But on a serious note, with a lot of the things you hear in this broadcast, especially with Joe McCann, that is the perfect focal point. It really does make you question when you hear the way Sheba talks about him. Were these accusations and timelines against this man made for actual authorities to hear? Or were they made to just create more dressing for people that will get them into the landfill that is the Queen Network hours and hours of recycled gossip and reaction content? I mean, this is the play right here. And so, I just have to say it. Do not be fooled because the 10 arrested headline or whatever we are calling this episode because now we have more than one live stream. It is not designed for us to be talking about the big questions, the big picture, or any of the messages even that Sheba was trying to get across in this interview that she led us on to believe was very important to her with everything she did in preparation in episode 1. And instead, we are supposed to just consume the slop, eat up your slop, and have any ideas about any of the inconsistencies just get lost in the void. Also, it can serve to be the dressing of the big headlines that will read if this all goes the way it should. That Sheba is the first creator since the Shanquella era to have the top 3 trending true crime live streams on YouTube all at once. And then she is the creator with the most fabricated leads in a single news cycle ever. And I am sure with whatever ad revenue figures and view counts occur when you are tripling even the biggest flop case Sheba has ever had numbers, they won't look bad. And that's it. Everybody who came into this thing looking for an experience that was supposed to be truth-driven, you got dumped and you got lied to because all you ever were to Sheba was somebody she can manipulate to give you more mediocre breakdowns into trying to throw 3 live streams on you this time. And seriously, with Sheba trying to pull a hustle like this and make everybody believe that she is the number one in this case from mere tricks and viewer stat padding. Listen, Sheba, you were calling out Joe McCann so much and you tried to start so much whether you meant it or not that you were going to have to face everything you said. Not to mention in all of this, Sheba has been accusing and making all these wild claims while she has these unverified phone calls going. And I mean, with all this, could you imagine a bigger mess? I just could not. The fact that people are eating this slop up shows how lost the audience is. And the fact that people are not even thinking about the lack of evidence just echoes that all the more. And with this case and with the way Sheba did not come out here, we will revisit this now. Despite each episode being under the same anonymous source umbrella with the same Queen persona, and that has been a massive point of contention so far, considering that Sheba and the actual family's relationship has never been distant in this way before, and everything just keeps coming apart for these two. I mean, this is a first. They got dissed by their own audience members in their own comment section, dropping 3 live streams like this and not as a coordinated investigation, and even just putting out all this speculation. While it does not seem like she is out of the spotlight yet, maybe that is coming because it does seem like something else is going on in terms of audience trust and what this could mean for the future of Sheba's channel and her future in the true crime space. Because if Sheba is dissing the credibility of every other creator, pumping up the algorithm with slop, and now trying to claim the crown for breaking the story, I would predict, and I am sure we'll find out in a lot more ways soon, that Sheba's relevance days are numbered. But in the meantime, take your time with this Ashley Jana coverage. Remember that the real evidence is the reason this case still has a heartbeat in the public eye, and the family's voice does too, for better and for worse. And so even if you find the biggest fan of Sheba and somebody who is loving the content, just laugh to yourself and know that deep down inside with the greatest exclusive that this starved viewer base has gotten in so long, the only reason it's even remotely notable to them is because of the very name and image of Ashley Jana, a real human being who deserved better than a closet, a missing phone, and a chorus of strangers profiting off the worst night of her life. And so now with all that said, let me know what are your initial thoughts on everything around Sheba's new interviews and everything she just did. I really just wanted to start off the discourse pointing this out and pointing out the sheer hypocrisy and just the weird detached games that are going on around this entire thing and that are really trying to mask and protect these creators in the process. And well, listen, there's going to be a lot more to dive into in the next breakdown, because this story is layered, this story has been buried, and this story has been monetized in ways that should make every honest viewer sick. We have to ask the real questions. Why is the official statement from Zanzibar police directly contradicted by the very source these creators claim to have? Why does no embassy bulletin, no Tanzanian newspaper, and no statement from Ashley's own family mention a single arrest, when there are now 10 different episodes dressed in red banners and bold fonts insisting that 10 people are in handcuffs? Why is Joe McCann walking free in the United States right now, his passport returned, his hands clean according to every public document we have access to, while these influencers continue to whisper that he confessed, that his friend was caught, that the butler was thrown in a cell, when none of that survives even the lightest fact check? Why is the same anonymous queen who supposedly works with a doctor inside a Zanzibar hospital able to give Sheba room numbers, charger details, and the exact length of a robe belt, but unable to walk a single piece of paper into a police station, into an embassy office, or into the hands of the family that has been begging for one straight answer? Why are the timestamps shifting from the 8th to the 9th to the 10th depending on which creator is talking that day? Why is the closet becoming a door, the door becoming a wardrobe rail, the wardrobe rail becoming a noose, and the noose becoming a robe belt, all in the same broadcast, all from the same mouth, all delivered with the confidence of a witness who was never there? Why is the butler entering a darkened room with an emergency key for a guest who simply asked him to return in 10 minutes, a guest who did nothing wrong, who broke no rule, who borrowed only a phone charger from a luxury resort that had no business intruding on her privacy that night? Look at how she named her source. The name is literally Somali Queen, which is the same naming convention used by half a dozen other unverified callers stretching across the last 3 years of true crime YouTube. I mean, the voice on the other end of the phone uses a username pulled straight from a shared playbook, and is trying to act like it is a sacred insider channel. Meanwhile, to be honest, this segment has the best chance to be the viral clip of the broadcast, which is just so fitting because its premise leans on an anonymity bar altogether. And with this episode, while so many bandwagon viewers are flocking towards it with their toxic certainty sentiments, which they love to pull out in times like this because they stand on absolutely nothing and they are opportunists, like a Trent and a Fumi. Well, both prove they more than are. And really, that's a whole other pathetic thing. I mean, look at the way these two are now best friends. But the way Sheba can't reconcile with somebody who actually questions her. Well, listen. While I am jumping ahead on why somebody who tried to act like the most fearless truth teller in the room on this broadcast, well, only is selective with the people they choose to amplify. Because despite Trent creating the very framing that literally caused the domino effect that put Sheba in the position to get this anonymous tipster in the first place, she can be cool with Trent. They can swap content. But with whatever happened with any creator who calls out the inconsistencies, they will never engage. And just speaking of the idea of standing on nothing, with Sheba continuing her source obsession by making her own version of the breaking exclusive with the episode titled 10 People Detained in Zanzibar. This is the segment we need to talk about. I will say it is definitely the most engineered headline Sheba has even possibly published all year, perhaps because it is using that same shock and outrage cadence that the Shanquella coverage used for a tag like 10 arrests confirmed. And it still does sound urgent on the surface here. And in terms of Sheba's delivery, while she sells a setup in the first half that starts off cautious and feels relatively measured, the second half of this segment has her screaming alongside her source and calling out everyone in the kitchen as she just goes wild, making vague accusations, naming the butler, and trying to say, this is how you build a real timeline, and this is how you reveal what local authorities have been hiding all along. Meanwhile, Sheba, I do not know if you know this, but no Zanzibar paper, no Tanzanian outlet, and no embassy bulletin has ever confirmed a single arrest. It's just stuff like this that makes this feel more cynical and exploitative than anything. Because while real journalists are filing FOIA requests and chasing official statements, Sheba has a phone call and she is the one who's trying to act like she is in the lead, which just stop it. I mean, you're trying to compete with actual evidence-based reporting that the family deserves, honestly, not even just in this case, but throughout every black woman who has died abroad in the last 10 years overall, and you got your BT knockoff version of journalism, and you think it's going to do anything. I mean, it just really does feel like an absolute tragedy watching this creator just descend and try worse and worse ways to manufacture any sort of relevance and to try and reach any little bit more views. And I wish I could say it stops there, because as this case goes on, and keep in mind I'm not even covering half of the contradictions and half of the lines that we see Sheba just blurt out all over this thing. Well, with Sheba building entire segments and arcs questioning the butler's behavior as she references a fake stat about hotel staff secretly being arrested off the record, which was never proven to be true and was actually proven quite the opposite by anyone willing to type the name of that resort into a search engine. But Sheba must be writing her hooks from gossip group chats and from her little anonymous tips to communities. And maybe they let her onto this and this is how she got it. And getting even worse from there, with this devolving all into the live broadcast, ending with Sheba pointing at floor plans of a hotel where she tears the layout apart by the end. And we see images that allude to a closet hanging directly on one of the screens, which is implying that Sheba thinks that the official ruling was staged and that everything Zanzibar police are doing is fraudulent, and that everything around the case and all the other parties who are involved, well, their accounts are fraudulent. When you watch the visuals with this storytelling, you'll see that Sheba literally did create her own cinematic universe to try and cope with the fact that she has no actual access to the family or the investigation, and why she is doing everything that she's doing now. But at the same time, it's like she didn't want the world to fully hear her source's full claims. Because when you make a segment like this and you start spazzing out on the entire hotel staff and the local police, and you make the message and make it a big deal in your rollout, but then have all this other noise make people talk about all of the other live streams you put out as well and all of the merch surrounding it, it seems like Sheba created the accusations on this broadcast, especially aimed at someone like Joe McCann, not to actually reach Ashley's family or push the case forward and show them that real questions are being asked. And instead it's to prove to her viewers and other creators and grifters even that she is some sort of insider and that she's not afraid to drop any name because they don't seem grounded enough to either move the needle in the actual investigation or even provoke law enforcement to confirm anything for the most part. But they are all over this broadcast. We are still discovering more in real time as we speak, as Sheba is responding and calling out so much of what the supposed butler did. And with timeline bars too here, which sound like when your parents say, "I told you so," or they try to explain to you something when you were younger. And even if you knew it was wrong back then since you were younger, they would just give you a weak response that you just had to go along with. Well, that is how it feels when Sheba tries to save and justify her phantom timeline by saying, "I am not making it up, my source is a doctor." I mean, kudos to you, Sheba. Kudos to you. You really sound like a credible and fully sourced investigator. But on a serious note, with a lot of the things you hear in this broadcast, especially with Joe McCann, why does a man with a master key walk into a dark suite, claim he hears a single thud, immediately locate a struggling woman whose legs are kicking in the air, and then turn around and leave the room without loosening a single knot, without lowering her down, without performing a single act of aid, only to run for help that arrives long after any chance of saving her has expired? Why is that emergency response the very same emergency response that delivers her to not one but two separate hospitals, neither of which has ever produced a public medical record, a public doctor statement, or a public chain of custody for the body, the belongings, the phone, the cameras, the ring, or the clothing she was wearing that night? Why is every single artifact that could speak for Ashley Jana sitting locked inside a vault on an island, while a parade of online voices speaks for her instead? Voices who do not know her, did not love her, and will move on the moment the trending tab refreshes. Why is the very same butler who allegedly walked into that darkened room never named in a single official document, never interviewed by a single accredited reporter, never photographed at a single press appearance, and yet quoted line for line by an anonymous queen as if she had been standing in the corner taking notes the entire time? Why does the supposed source know the exact length of the walk between Villa 25 and Villa 65, the exact name of the bathrobe color, the exact angle of Ashley's legs, the exact direction of the thud she allegedly heard, and yet not the exact identity of a single person on the police roster handling the case? Why does the entire chain of custody around her phone evaporate at the moment it is the most needed, the moment it could prove who she texted, who she called, who she planned to meet, and who she begged for help in the final hours before that hotel went dark? Why has not a single creator who claims to have a source asked their source for the one thing that would settle this entire conversation in 5 minutes, a photograph of an official document, a screenshot of a police badge, a recording of a credentialed officer, a copy of the autopsy that is supposedly being released on Friday but somehow never arrives on Friday, and never arrives the Friday after that, and never arrives at all? These are the questions that the 10 arrests headline is designed to bury, and these are the questions that I am going to keep asking on this platform until someone with actual authority answers them in full. Because Ashley Jana did not vanish into a closet on her own. Ashley Jana did not pull a robe belt around her own neck while a man she was supposed to marry walked freely down a hallway 8 to 10 minutes away from her room. Ashley Jana did not pass through 2 hospitals on her own legs without anyone documenting what happened between the first treatment and the final pronouncement. Ashley Jana was somebody's daughter, somebody's friend, somebody's whole world, and the people closest to that island know exactly what occurred between the moment that door closed and the moment that body was carried out. And the names of those people are not Somali Queen, are not Anonymous Doctor, are not Sheba's Mystery Insider. They are the names that nobody on YouTube is willing to say out loud, because saying them out loud would mean stepping outside the safety of a live stream and into the world of accountability where stories get checked, lies get punished, and creators get exposed for everything they have built. So if you have made it this deep into this video, I want you to do 3 things right now before you click off. Number 1. Ask yourself which version of this case you have been told, and which version you have actually verified with your own eyes from an official source. Number 2. Share this video with one person who has been quoting the 10 arrests headline as if it were gospel, and let them see for themselves how thin that claim becomes the moment you pull the curtain back. And number 3. Keep Ashley Jana's name in your mouth, in your timeline, and in your comments, because the only thing standing between her and total erasure from the news cycle is the refusal of regular people like you to let her become another forgotten file in a growing collection of women whose stories got hijacked by clout. We are not going to allow that here. We are not going to allow her case to be reduced to a live stream gimmick, a thumbnail trick, or a phantom arrest count engineered to fatten a watch time graph. We are going to keep asking, keep pushing, and keep showing up until the right answers are surrendered by the right people. I will be back very soon with the next breakdown, because there is even more buried inside this story than what we covered tonight, including the missing footage from the resort's interior, the silence from the embassy, the strange behavior surrounding the engagement ring, and the timeline that nobody can keep straight from one broadcast to the next. So before you go, please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new here, hit that notification bell so the next part lands in front of you the moment it is published, and drop a single word in the comments below to let me know you understood every layer of what we unpacked tonight. Your support is what keeps this case alive on the platform. Your shares are what push it past the gatekeepers, and your eyes are what make sure that Ashley Jana is never quietly buried beneath a stack of fabricated headlines. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and most importantly, stay loud, because the truth in this story is still out there, and the only people who can drag it into the light are the ones refusing to look away. I will see you in the next one. But before I let you go, I want to leave you with one more layer that has been sitting in the back of my mind through every single live stream I have watched on this case, and that layer is the way these creators frame their own absence from the camera. Have you noticed that pattern? Have you really sat with it for a moment? Because every single one of the loudest voices around this case refuses to put their own face into the lens while they are dragging real names through digital mud. Sheba is audio only. The Somali Queen source is audio only. The doctor she claims to be tied to is audio only. The friend who supposedly witnessed something at the hotel is audio only. The hotel insider is audio only. And every time one of these phantom witnesses pops up on a live stream, the host treats their faceless voice like it is being broadcast from a witness protection bunker, when in reality it is being broadcast from the same iPhone, the same call connect line, and the same anonymous account that has been used to fuel the last 10 clout cycles on this platform. That is not journalism. That is theater. That is dramatized podcasting wearing the costume of investigative reporting. And it is dangerous because it allows fabricated information to enter the public conversation with the weight of confirmed evidence, when in fact it has the weight of a stranger on a phone reading lines that could have been written 10 minutes before the show went live. And the longer this pattern continues without being called out, the more women like Ashley Jana will keep being processed like content rather than mourned like people. So when I say keep asking questions, I do not just mean about the case itself, I mean about the entire industry that has grown around tragedies like this one. Who is funding these live streams? Who is sharing these phone numbers across creators? Who is coaching these sources? Who is choosing which family member to platform and which family member to ignore? Who is deciding when a butler becomes a suspect, when a friend becomes a co-conspirator, and when an entire hotel staff becomes 10 arrested individuals in a single headline? These are the gears underneath the surface of every single one of these broadcasts. And the gears do not stop turning just because Ashley Jana is no longer here to push back against them. They keep turning because turning is how they get paid. And the only thing that ever slows them down is a viewer who refuses to play along, a viewer who pauses the live stream and asks the simple question, where is the document, where is the badge number, where is the press release, where is the embassy bulletin, where is the actual proof? Once you start asking that question, every single one of these broadcasts collapses in under 30 seconds. Try it tonight. Pull up any episode that claims 10 arrests, scroll into the comments, and search the platform for one official Tanzanian source that backs the claim. You will not find it. You will find more live streams citing each other in a closed loop. You will find thumbnails screaming exclusive. You will find anonymous queens whispering names into microphones. But you will not find a single piece of paper with a stamp, a signature, or a date. And that is the entire architecture of this scam, a hall of mirrors where every reflection points to another reflection, and not a single mirror points at anything real. So tonight, in honor of Ashley Jana, in honor of every woman whose final hours have been turned into entertainment, in honor of every family who has had to watch strangers profit off their grief, I am asking you to be the viewer who breaks the loop. Be the viewer who pauses the show. Be the viewer who shares this analysis with someone who needed to hear it. Be the viewer who refuses to let the algorithm be the only voice deciding what the truth is in this case. And the last thing I will say before this video ends is this. Do not let anyone tell you that asking questions is disrespectful to Ashley. The opposite is true. The disrespect is in the silence. The disrespect is in the fabrication. The disrespect is in the live streams that turn her closet into a set piece and her timeline into a cliffhanger. The respect is in the refusal to accept any version of her death that cannot be backed by a name on a document, a stamp on a report, or a voice on a record. That is the only kind of accountability that her memory deserves, and that is the only kind of accountability that I am going to keep pushing for on this platform. Until that happens, every breakdown I publish is going to keep pulling apart these phantom headlines piece by piece, name by name, and lie by lie, and I am inviting you to ride this entire investigation out with me until somebody on the other side of the world is finally forced to answer for what occurred inside that resort. So press the like button one more time before you leave, because each like signals the algorithm that this kind of analysis deserves to be seen by another viewer. Drop a comment with the single word truth, so I know you reached the very end of this breakdown, and most importantly, take everything you learned tonight and bring it into your next conversation about this case. Because the more clearly you can speak about what really happened versus what was invented, the harder it becomes for these creators to keep selling the invention. I will see you very soon for the next part of this investigation, and remember that every viewer who refuses to be fooled by a manufactured headline is one more layer of armor wrapped around the truth, one more obstacle in the path of the next creator who tries to harvest a tragedy for a thumbnail, and one more reason for someone somewhere to finally pick up a phone and answer for what really took place on that island the night Ashley Jana lost her life. Stay alert, stay grounded, and stay loud always.